And we're starting a little late. We're supposed to start at 6. We're starting a couple minutes after 6. Actually, we're starting about, not quite sure what time it is. I'm Christ, I am Disciple. You're watching my channel. If you like what you're seeing, you can like, share, subscribe. You can also donate via PayPal. The link is in the description. Feel free to engage me. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God always comes first. I am a follower and a servant of the Most High God. This stream is brought to you by LIVE Products. LIVE, live now. We're live now. There are 2 lines in LIVE. You have cleaning products and you also have natural fruit drinks. The flavors when it comes to natural fruit drinks are Morby, grapefruit, sorrel, orange, fruit punch, and lime, which is not seen in the picture there. In terms of cleaning products, LIVE products, we have liquid detergent, fabric softener, disinfectant, and dishwashing liquid. If you live in the Trinidad and Tobago area, place your orders now. The cost for the products offline, $10 each. Online, for the cleaning products, if you order online, it is $8. You get 20% off. And if you order the drinks, 25 or more, also $8, 20% off each drink. LIVE, live now. We're live now. As you can see from the stream, we're going to be talking more about current events. But first, I want to start off with tributes to Restore the Snyderverse, which we should be talking more about. And we're going to get into that right now. I like to bring up this scene right here. It's one that you're looking at, which for some reason is not it's not moving, but it doesn't matter. And this particular time, Kal-El, aka Future Superman, is proposed a particular proposal from General Zod. General Zod is the leader of Kal-El's world. He was one of the military leaders of Kal-El's world. And General Zod proposes that his lost world, his lost planet of Krypton, could be restored. But to do so, he would have to ethnically cleanse the earth of humanity and all other life on it. And he's sort of showing Cal what the world would look like. And Cal's standing on top skulls of dead humans. The thing about Zack Snyder's story and how graphic it is and how repugnant it is to see this graphic content is that Zack Snyder in 2013 is making a comment on settler colonialism. I don't know if you guys realize that, but I don't know of any time in history where settler colonialism ever did not displace the natural inhabitants of an area, murdering, slaughtering, and killing them. And just like General Zod would say, for good reason. I mean, I'm trying to survive. Me and my people, we are almost extinct. And I'm dedicated to seeing my people survive. How many times have we heard this? We've heard Adolf Hitler's talk about preservation of the Aryan race. We've heard white supremacists speak about maintaining the purity of, their ethnic backgrounds, and that they are a minority in the world and they need to preserve the white lineage, the Aryan lineage. And they use this as grounds to slaughter, murder, expel peoples from a region that they lived in all their lives. It's a sort of bullyism, but in a very dark way. It's like, you're in my space now. I'm the big dog here. And because you may have backing and funding and superior military might, as General Zod had, to the weak, powerless humans, the Kryptonians were extremely powerful compared to the humans. Their technology, way superior. And the only one that was resisting them was one of them, a Kryptonian like themselves, who had formed relationships with humanity. Listen to me carefully, because the story is not a new one. We're getting up to speed with it, but it's not a new story. The devil came to Jesus. Jesus was in the wilderness. And he made a proposition to him. He said, all these kingdoms of this world I will give to you if you would bow down and worship me. I'm going to paraphrase a bit. I'm going to take that and stretch it out a little bit more. See, this earth, this world, if you're a Christian, I'm going to come from a biblical background. I'm going to show you something, because it's all spiritual. This world was populated with people. The people existed. They enjoyed themselves. They carried out their daily lives. And then this world was invaded by another group of peoples from another world. Well, it actually happened a little before humanity came on the scene, but at the time, humanity was unaware of it. And they were deceived into obeying and following with servitude this invaded force. And for the greater part, humanity's been living in slavery to this greater force. Were it not for one as powerful as them, who came to earth, which is Jesus, and was confronted by them, just as how Kal-El was confronted by General Zod, just as how the native peoples was confronted by settler colonialists. At all points in time, there is always a conversation, a pivotal point, a pivotal moment. And lines are drawn in the sand. Such is the moment we saw in Man of Steel, where Kal sided with the humans over his own kind, where Jesus sided with mankind over a celestial being like himself, and where a decision comes in the sand right now, as a genocide is still occurring in Palestine, in Gaza particularly, but also there's genocidal tendencies in the West Bank and also in Lebanon. And genocides are being committed in Armenia, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Congo, and various other places. A line is drawn in the sand, and you have to pick a side. You can't be neutral. And this line in Man of Steel was where Clark had to pick between the humanity which was not always kind to him, was not always good to him. But what he had known, and he had a relationship with them. And Jesus had to pick between humanity or within this version of divinity that the Luciferian came to enlighten him with. That was a pivotal moment because it was, let's make a deal. You can reign under me. With Kal-El, it was, where is the Codex, Cal? For the Palestinians, it was, will you agree to serve us, the Jews? The Ashkenazi Jews said, come to settle here, because this is our land. If you want to serve under us, then you can stay. Otherwise, you must leave your land. Now, Zack Snyder basically is telling the story of universal truth. This has happened throughout history, where the stronger, more powerful nation with the greater connections gets to dictate how history is told. But we have reached a point in the world's history where we learn that if any progress is to take place in any civil society, then the poorest and the weakest of that society must be addressed with humanity, with respect, and with dignity. This is where we have reached in history. No longer it's about strong as might. Because I am more powerful, I am right. Now we are willing to engage in what is truly right, what is truly moral. Because we are seeing the evil signs of fascism versus democracy, of policed states versus free states. More and more we see consolidation of power to the very elite and the very rich. Wealth, consolidation of legislature. Laws are being made that do not benefit the many, but benefit the few. When Clark had to make this decision, and I love the imagery here, it's horrific, but yet it's beautiful at the same time. Clark watching at the Kryptonian sun setting in the background, destruction, mass death, genocide. And how I know that the average person is appalled by terrorism, the horror of genocide, is the reaction of so many people to Man of Steel's final throwdown with General Zod, in which General Zod was on a genocidal rampant, just trying to destroy anything in his way, did not care about anything. Superman was trying to stop him. And people were appalled at the destruction that was taking place. And they pinned it, not on General Zod, but on Superman. Look at the destruction here. You even see a human body going up in the sky. This is the level of destruction we saw at 9/11 that was very disturbing to people, and now televised to us with Gaza and Palestine and Lebanon. Unfortunately, we do not see that graphic violence that is happening in Congo, in Sudan. This is not televised. in Somalia, in Armenia, in Syria. We're seeing some of it in Lebanon. How these people bomb places, taking down huge buildings, sometimes taking down several buildings. It reminds us of 9/11, the demolition, the epic demolition. And Zack Snyder was able to portray that in a movie, and many people were disgusted. They got upset, meaning they wanted to vomit. They were appalled. It brought back intense, graphic, disturbing images of 9/11, which we know is an inside job. And I say all of this to say this. There is a reason Zack Snyder is hated in Hollywood. But yet, at the same time, his light shines so brightly and he's in demand in Hollywood because he had the guts to put in a superhero movie. No one had ever done this before. He had the guts to put in a superhero movie big themes and topics about us as humanity. You know why Sudan doesn't make front page news besides the people being black? It's not televised. We hear about it. We don't see the technological and graphic and the magnitude of destruction that is happening there. Do you think it's yesterday that buildings were being taken down by bombs? That people were being sniped in the head? This is something that's common throughout history. It happened in Ethiopia, in Somalia. And the reason why these war crimes have happened, Noam Chomsky spoke about how every single president of the United States since Franklin Roosevelt is incorporated in war crimes throughout the world. Every single one can be implicated in that. Since World War II, America has been on a tier for hegemony, and they've been doing it in very brutal, very callous ways, very anti-democratic ways. They talk about democracy, but they don't want every nation to be democratic, particularly from the grassroots come up. Even in their own country, even in the United States of America itself, people like Jill Stein are being kicked off of ballots, Claudia de la Cruz, Cornel West, Oliver Chase, and these corporate-run agencies they call the DNC and the RNC are what own the duopoly. I see it in my own country as well, because democracies worldwide follow a certain model that is controlled and regulated by the business community. First and foremost, capitalism. And while some countries have socialist programs, the funding for these and even the will to carry these out are waning because, and even you see the labor parties and so on, you see that there is a pushback against labor. There's a pushback against socialist programs for a reason. Cancel culture came about because of the deception of the left. It was said to be left liberals. It's said to be, these moral values that suddenly, and it's used and weaponized to censor speech, free speech. Just like how we had the Wild Wild West with the internet, we had a little time where people were peaked and there was a lot of freedom for people to say things they wanted to in certain countries. And now you can see the freedom of speech being regulated by these corporate bodies, whether it's YouTube, whether it's the digital corporate bodies, or whether it's the actual corporate bodies. because information is now available to everyone and people are getting access to different things, there's no way to regulate people and to keep them in this cocoon anymore. People cannot be controlled like they want them to be controlled, to eat the Kool-Aid, that they want them to eat the Kool-Aid. Now, their advertising is still working because people voted for Trump instead of a third party. Some people are still stupid enough and naive enough to be influenced by the advertising campaigns that these big corporations pump into influencing people's minds. However, it's very important to understand that the more of us move away from that, turn away from that, is the more they have less and less control over us. I want to show you something else. So the challenge that Superman had, and what makes Superman in this story, Man of Steel, and this is what makes Man of Steel absolutely a great film. The challenge Superman had, Superman, like the Jews for peace, like the Jews against genocide, like the ceasefire now Jews, Superman gets to expose the agenda of the Kryptonians because he is one of them. And just like how I tell you, and this is why I love my Jewish brothers and sisters, when the Jews stood up against the Zionistic, murderous, genocidal campaign to purge their brothers and sisters, fellow Semites in Palestine, you have to understand that that was a notable turn of events in history. You can't call Jews anti-Semites. You can't. They're Semites. So they started saying they're self-hating Jews, which didn't carry much water because they're calling out these people who claim they're Jews, at least, carrying out anti-Semitic genocide on Semitic people. And because they call this out, they're labeled anti-Semites or self-hating Jews when that's stupid because in Palestine, as we all know, there are Jews there. They're called Palestinian Jews. Some of them assimilated into becoming Muslims, but their genealogy goes all the way back thousands and thousands of years to Abraham. Then you have the Semites who are descendants of Ishmael. Some of them are Muslim. So no matter how you look at it, the lies that are propagated in the media, the anti-Semitism laws, do these people understand that those same laws can implicate them in supporting a genocide? Do they understand what they're passing by trying to put anti-Semitic laws into implementation? Yeah, they say, oh, we define it as laws where anybody speaks anything ill of Israel. Well, no, my friend. It's actually worse than that because guess what? When we look at the definition of Semites, Semites are the descendants of Shem, of which Ishmael, who is a child of Abraham, is a Semite. The Midianites are Semites. Okay? So when you go out there saying you're going to do anti-Semitic laws and all these things, and you're trying to pass these laws in your country, do understand, one, if you go up against Jews and you're calling them Jew haters and you're attacking other Jews, you're being anti-Semitic. And two, the mass genocide against the descendants of Ishmael and Midian in the Middle East is anti-Semitic, no doubt about it. You're implicating your own self. I digress. The point is, This Kryptonian stood up to the other Kryptonians. He needed help from humanity, and he got it. And I'm saying the Jews stood up to other so-called professed Jews, whether it's genealogically or otherwise. And you know what's weird? These European Jews, remember this whole Zionism thing with the Jews started in Europe. And it wasn't a popular thing, and still to this day is not a popular thing amongst Jews. A lot of Jews still do not accept Zionism. Even though a lot of them are raised in Zionism, a lot of them, that's why they don't even go to Israel. There's a lot of Jews who have never set foot in Israel. Even though they encourage people to go there and live, a lot of Jews haven't. And even though they have these programs where they indoctrinate the Jews, I can tell you this. I believe the majority of Jews in Israel, I don't know for now, right now, because a lot of Jews exodus, they left Israel, but in Israel proper, a lot of Jews in Israel are opposed to what is going on. They've been opposed since day one. Now, some people will say, well, you know, Israel had a right to defend itself. Well, defense is where you rock back and you protect yourself from your enemy, like how Iran defended itself against Israel throwing missiles at it. That's defending yourself. Now, when you go on the offensive, it means you're going to hunt down and destroy Hamas. And I have a problem with you hunting down and destroying Hamas if you were going to do it in terms of assassination attempts, like what you did against the head of Hamas in Tehran, what you did against other heads of Hamas in other places. But you don't just bulldoze into a country and start bombing up everything. Russia didn't even do that. Okay? That is ridiculous. And America is guilty of this as well. Russia's never done this. China has never done this. At least, let me put it this way. No, I'm wrong. Russia has done this, and China has done this. But what I'm saying is, generally speaking, these countries haven't done this. Now, did Israel have a right to catch, apprehend, to kill, to murder the heads and the institutions of Hamas? Absolutely. I mean, it's a nation. If it was attacked, it should counterattack. No doubt about that. But for you to kill so many non-combatants and to try and make up stories about killing non-combatants, to make them vilify them, absolutely unacceptable. And so Superman opposed General Zod. General Zod had the superiority in munitions, had the superiority in terms of powers and abilities. Israel has clearly the superiority in terms of military power and many other things. Okay? Palestine doesn't even have an army. Right? They don't have a National Guard. They don't have airports. They can't just leave Palestine and go elsewhere. It's crazy. Families can't even see each other. Okay. They're heavily, heavily regulated. It's like a dystopian nightmare. Okay. So I say all of this to say that Superman realized that General Zod was not looking to come and coexist with humanity. He was coming to replace humanity, which is what the whole state of Israel is. It's about replacing the Palestinian natives that are there. Some will, a token of them will stay in Israel, just like with the Native Americans on reservations. You know, but most of them would be annihilated. And this is what General Zod was about to do. And Superman stood up against that. And if you felt, and all of you felt, I'm sure, that Man of Steel is this great movie and everything, you would also feel the same way about the Palestinians. And this is why I support and I'm in solidarity with the Palestinians in Palestine. And I'm becoming aware of what happens in Palestine, what has happened in Palestine, I definitely am in complete solidarity with the Palestinians. Complete, you know. And I believe most of the world is as well. We have picked a side. We're for the poor people, the defenseless, the powerless. We're against the powerful, the tyrannical, the dictatorial, the oppressor. We're always going to be up against them. So the ICC and what the ICC passed concerning Israel and Palestine. And the ICC dropped the gauntlet finally. And there's a shift in Europe, all around the world now, with respect to Israel. Thanks to the ICC. And there's threats by America, there's threats by Israel, but they don't mean anything. Now, with respect to what Mr. Netanyahu and also Mr. Joe Biden and the U.S. administration have been saying concerning Palestine's relevance with the Rome Accords, the Rome Statute, the state of Palestine, though not recognized by them as a state, is under the Rome Statute. They're a signatory to it. And it really doesn't matter, as the Rappaport was saying, whether they have signed to the Rome Statute or not. The International Criminal Court can investigate whatever once atrocities have been made. And this is the case with Putin, of course, who's also, Russia is not a signatory to the Rome Statute. Putin was issued arrest warrants to come to The Hague, even though Ukraine wasn't a signatory to the Rome Statute either. Okay, it's only in this year, I believe, they have been signed on. So, even though Ukraine was not in the jurisdiction of the Rome Statute, the International Criminal Court prosecuted Mr. Putin. So there really is no grounds and there's no place that the ICC doesn't have jurisdiction over. I thought it was only the signatories, and if the signatory, because it happened in Palestine, the signatory to the statute, they could have jurisdiction over, but they get jurisdiction over, as their name says, all over the world. If a player, whether they sign the statute or not, is not conforming to the international rules and is committing war crimes, then any signatory of the statute can implement the statute on that territory. So it's not really the ICC, whether you think the ICC has jurisdiction or not is really irrelevant. It's really about what does the individual countries under the ICC Rome Statute, what do they do? What action they take? And if they conform, if the international court rules that this person needs to be arrested, if you land in any country that's a signatory to the Rome Statute, that person has to be arrested. It's just the way it goes. And so it's the signatories, because it's about an agreement. It's like Nazi Germany. You had the alliance of Russia, the UK, and the United States, and some other European countries. They agreed to go to war with Germany. Germany wasn't a signatory to that. You know what I'm saying? So they enacted whatever they had to enact on Germany. And it's a similar thing. It's really the parties that agree. It's kind of like an alliance of parties who agree with the ruling of a particular institution. And if they agree with that ruling, they're going to abide by that ruling. It really doesn't matter if you are signatory to that ruling or not. The countries which are signatory to that ruling, because it's the highest court in the land, whether you are signatory to it, whether you want to conform to it or not, is really irrelevant. If you go in a country that observes the Rome Statute under the International Criminal Court, that country can arrest you. Whether you want to now try and engage in a war against that country or against the International Criminal Court, that's your business. But at the end of the day, do understand that all countries who abide under the rules of the International Criminal Court are obligated to defend and protect that court because they are signatories to the court. So if you want to have World War III over being a bitch about being pointed out that you're wrong about something and that action has to be taken on you, that's on you. You know what I mean? That's on you, right? But do understand that countries which are signatories to the Rome Statute abide under the Rome Statute. As the UK said, if Mr. Netanyahu comes to the UK, they're going to arrest him. Italy has said, without even holds barred, if he drops down in Italy, we will arrest him. Okay? So they're not playing. All right, and they don't care how much bluff and how much bludgeon America wants to say this and throw words around. And what Biden and Harris need to be doing is watching their ass. Because guess what? Every single president and every single administration since Franklin Roosevelt has committed war crimes. And you best believe the International Criminal Court is going to come after their asses next. They're not playing. Okay? All people who have endorsed, supported, and armed, everybody need to be quaking because the International Criminal Court is coming after you. And I'm glad this is happening because this is righteous. This is just. You know, since the Me Too movement, a lot of days of reckoning for a lot of powerful people who thought they got away with a lot of shit is coming to roost. P. Diddy. Right? Weinstein, all these powerful players, right? A whole bunch of them. It's a whole bunch of them. Epstein. They started with the small fry, now they're coming to the big fry. The intelligence communities, CIA, Mossad, all you guys, you are on notice because the people are coming back to take control over your misdeeds. So all as powerful as you may be, you better start quaking in your boots because the day of reckoning is coming for you, all of you. And you can assassinate, you can kill, you can do whatever you want. It's not going to stop it. It's not going to stop because people want justice. People want equity. In the age of artificial intelligence, and recently there was a little debate by the junior parliament, which was excellent. One of my younger persons, he was involved in it. It was beautiful to watch. But you best believe this. The way how the world is going doesn't have to go this way if the people of the world rise up and say, no, we put you in this position to do X amount of work and we're going to hold you accountable for this. And if you don't do it properly, we will take it back over. It's time we as people, and thank God for the internet, it's time we as people take back the power we give to our leaders. They forget that they're elected. They didn't just inherit this. It's not chattel slavery anymore. It's not a feudal system anymore where we're the serf serving you, a one individual. It's not plantation mentality. And by the way, plantation mentality was with the feudal system as well. This is why Zack Snyder is dangerous. You see the Congolese flag here and Palestine flag. So here's some of the places where a lot of unrest is still happening. Afghanistan, Palestine, Pakistan, Lebanon, Kashmir, Yemen, Sudan, Syria. These are just some of the names. Somalia is not there. Again, an ongoing conflict has been going on in Somalia for a long time. Free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan. Restore the Snyderverse is very, very I think very relevant, very important. I see that, the CIA run Hollywood doesn't want social commentary in a significant way. And Zack Snyder's movies obviously have created an awareness with people, an awareness that Hollywood cannot smother. CIA led Hollywood, that is. Mossad led Hollywood. People say it's anti-Semitic to say that the Jews, they run a lot of things. Well, the Jews do run Hollywood. That's not an anti-Semitic statement. That's just what it is. There are a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood, and some of the head execs and head people in Hollywood are Jewish. And Kanye West was absolutely 100% correct in saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about that. That's just a fact. The banking industry is run by the Rothschilds, who the whole pattern of our modern day banking system is because of them. Again, that's not anti-Semitic. Those are facts. That doesn't make the Jews bad people. It doesn't make them good people. So they just happen to manage those things. In my country, the Syrians run things. That's not being anti-Islamophobic or hate against the Syrians. It's just what it is. Okay, it's a fact. Now, having said that, they worked their way to get themselves into that position. And while it's true that they may have used evil means, through the devil, and maybe through very draconian methods to get there, they got there. Okay, AIPAC is there. Israeli lobby groups are there. All right, they push their agenda. They push their interest. Okay. It's a lesson to other people to coordinate, work with one another, like the Chinese is doing, and get your way. I am not mad at them for that. And what I am mad at is them trying to censor and quiet people on issues where they know they're doing wrong and they have no leg to stand on. That's where I have a little problem. And I'm not talking generally about Jewish people, because Jewish people are successful all over the place. As I said before, I have Jewish blood in me, genetically, that is. So I don't see any. I mean, they're very creative people. Some of the greatest inventions are done by Jewish people. So I'm not here to bash Jewish people. I think were it not for Jewish people, we would never, the world wouldn't be what it is in a positive way as well. So I'm not bashing Jewish people. And it's not anti-Semitic to say facts about them. And again, it's not every single Jewish person who's like that, and not every single Jewish person is in the position of power and play and all of that. Okay. But having said that, it's a fact. Now, some of the Jewish people who are in positions of power are not even Zionists. So take that and pocket that for what you may. We have some very powerful allies who support Palestine in tremendous ways. And we're talking big corporate heads who don't like what was going on. Okay, so it's not cut and dry like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's still a point that they are few and far between. These are men with conscience. Okay, so you can't. I mean, if you don't have allies in this fight for freedom, I mean, you think about the civil rights movement, the significant amount of Jewish support in that. I mean, Jews have been known to support quite a lot of good things. And we're talking about highly influential Jews with a lot of money. Okay. So, everything needs financing. Even if you start grassroots level, at some point you need some big finances to push the thing along. And Jewish people have been, and I say it in a very general way, but I need to say it more specifically that, specifically certain Jewish people, whether they be anti-Zionist, whether they be pushing for the liberation of a people, pumped money and resources, and some of them put their lives on the line to see that happen. So let's just make that perfectly clear. For those of you who don't know, I am not trying to push annihilation of any people off the earth. Okay? Every single culture enriches this planet. That positive contribution. So I'm not here to. And I've studied, certain Jewish traditions passed over and so on. And so, I'm deeply entrenched in Jewish ideologies, the Torah, etc. Okay, my Christianity comes off of a Judaistic background. Okay, so I'm not here to speak ill of Jews, generally speaking. Okay, but I am here to speak of the specific evils that both the American Empire and an extension of the American Empire in the Middle East, being the State of Israel, known as the Palestinian Initiative, initially have committed. And these Zionist Jews, these colonial settler Jews, I'm very specific in my language now. I'm not just talking about Zionists, because also, by extension, certain Zionists also support these Zionist Jews, even though their endpoint is different. And even though some of these Zionists, whether they be Christian Zionists, whether they be atheistic Zionists, are anti-Semite, quite frankly. Okay. But they support them. Now, I wanted to talk about the fact that there's lack of light shed on the ethnic cleansing of Armenians from Armenia, of the ethnic cleansing of a certain tribe in Sudan, the Darfur people, of the ethnic cleansing of Somalians in Somalia, again, as a separate set of tribes, and of the ethnic cleansing in Congo, and of course, the one that the whole world is watching in real time, the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem now. And we even have ethnic cleansing, or not ethnic cleansing, but we have mass killings, mass murder of civilians in Lebanon and Syria. We don't talk much about Syria. People don't know what's going on in Syria, but there's a reason Russia is there. And it's, there's a lot to unpack with Syria, and we'll talk about that another time. Suffice it to say that even also the mass murders in Yemen, which we haven't talked about either. And while Yemen also has its own ethnic war that's going on in Yemen itself, there's been mass killings via Saudi Arabia as a proxy to the American empire on Yemen. And then on top of that, we have Israel that also attacks Yemen with its weaponry. Okay, plus America also attacks Yemen and bombed Yemen. Okay, and Yemen, the Yemenis don't give a damn. They've been war-ridden for years. So they've held hostage the Red Sea for the longest while. And the canal there by Egypt, they just locked that shit down. In fact, we have American battleships coming out of Yemen and heading back to America. They've they've locked down arm transfer to Israel. Okay, the Yemenis are bad motherfuckers. They ain't no other way to describe it, so I have to use that language. They're bad. Okay, they don't care to die. And shout out to the Yemenis. Y'all are bad boys. Y'all can say what you want about the Houthis. I know the Houthis are doing some bad things to the Yemenis who do not agree with them. In Yemen, I totally agree with that. And that needs to be addressed. Okay? But boy, those boys are fierce, man. They're fierce. I mean, the Houthis, they got balls. Big balls. I'm not gonna lie, man. They got balls, man. Ain't no other way to describe it. They are fierce. And I mean, they've been oppressed now for 2 decades, I think it is. It's going on 2 decades they've been oppressed. I mean, they destroyed everything. I remember, I think it's under Barack Obama, one of them, they invaded Yemen. And we was hearing about Yemen and Omar and the Houthis taking over. But man, them Houthis, boy. Them Houthis ain't easy, man. Man. Damn. Anyways, them guys got balls, man. They got balls. You gotta admire their balls. um, having said that, anyway, they've tried to assassinate a number of African leaders of present time. Was somewhat outspoken. Burkina Faso's leader right now, there's about several assassination attempts on him. And you know what's interesting? Donald Trump, they have tried to assassinate Donald Trump also multiple times. They didn't really want him to be, for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I look at all of this and I say to myself, we as people of this earth, we have to pick a side. We have to pick a side for righteousness. And it doesn't matter. Like the Houthis should not be oppressing the Yemenis like that. So wrong is wrong. We got to call a spade for what it is, a spade, right? When Russia invaded Ukraine, mind you, they did use certain statutes from the convention, from the United Nations Convention, to explain why they did what they did. But nonetheless, it's a sovereign nation. You don't just invade a sovereign state. Okay, with the state of Palestine is not sovereign, recognized as a sovereign state worldwide. It is recognized as a sovereign state by most of the world. However, the state of Palestine, it has to be ratified and become. It is already a member of the United Nations, but through what we call observation, right? But it has to become now official member of the United Nations, and they're pushing hard to get that happening. Some people, try to argue for one state or two state solution. Let me tell you the truth. The truth is, the Palestinian people need to decide that. Okay, so whether they have to form their own state first and then decide that, or whatever, but it's the Palestinian people to decide that. It's not up to anybody outside of Palestine to decide that. Now, the diplomats can ask for it, but they need to get a consensus from the people. And at this point in time, in unrest, both in the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and also in Gaza, it's very hard to get that because people are under oppression right now. So the first thing that has to happen is there needs to be a removal of the occupation of Palestine. All settlements, all military has to move, and Israel will say, well, how are we going to protect ourselves from terrorists? And they're going to build up themselves and then they're going to attack us or whatever. UN peacekeeping forces are supposed to go down into Palestine to prevent any hostilities from happening, either Israel into Palestine or Palestine into Israel. That's how it goes. There are peacekeeping forces that were in Lebanon, and Israel's been trying to bully them. And there needs to be United Nations peacekeeping forces in Palestine. This is how simple it is. The other thing that needs to be done, Israel's air superiority, where it is allowed to bomb the shit out of these countries, needs to be regulated. Israel is allowed to fly their planes in their airspace. Once you go into airspace of occupied territories, once you go into airspace of Lebanon, the United Nations security forces, whether it be NATO, whether it be their peacekeeping forces, should be allowed to confront them and ask them why they're in the airspace. That prevents indiscriminate aggression against the citizenry. This is to protect the citizenry. If you're going after Hamas, that's fine. They're your enemy, that's fine. But don't go against the citizenry. The problem is when civilians are being killed. This is the problem. This has always been the problem with war. And the world does not want war. The world's in a position where it's connected so much now that you can see people protesting every time a war happens. Disagreements can be better resolved without war. If, for example, a party has committed a heinous crime against another, then it is within the rules of law to hunt down those people, find them, and bring them to justice. That is the right way to do it. And Israel more than was capable of doing that. They basically regulate Gaza. You telling me you couldn't go and hunt down the Hamas reps in Gaza and not destroy all the infrastructure? We saw them get Bin Laden. We saw them kill the leader of Hamas in Tehran. We've seen them kill dignitaries in Lebanon, in Syria. So you're telling me you couldn't just do that in Palestine? You know? So it's like when you see that, you get arrest warrants and you go, or you investigate what's happening in there. You get one or two head leaders of wherever, and you bring them to justice. That's what you do. I'm amazed that all of this, Netanyahu, just bloody wars after bloody wars, killed so many Israeli soldiers. Let's not talk about that. All the Israeli soldiers who died. Now, a lot of people say, hip hip hooray, they killed off the soldiers. And just think of them as American soldiers and how much American soldiers died in the Iraq wars and the Afghanistan wars. Useless wars, by the way. Useless wars. Right? Barack Obama supposedly got Osama bin Laden. Oh, we got him. It didn't change anything, right? It didn't change anything. Still had ISIS. Still had terror campaigns. People were still getting their heads cut off. Right? ISIS gave a lot of Muslim and Arab countries a bad name. ISIS is not even Arab. ISIS is actually CIA Mossad. So the violence, when you see really barbaric actions, you have to ask yourself questions like, where is this coming from? I'm not saying that it's always Israel or it's always America. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying you got to question it. Because the majority of Muslims worldwide are not violent people. It's just what it is. Anyways, that's what I've got for you guys. Until these countries are free, we can't really say the world is free. Until the poor and the least of these get the same rights and privileges that we have, the right to live, the right to exist, we can't say that we have improved as humanity. We seem to be good at destroying things. We destroy the climate. We destroy the environment. We destroy, we destroy each other. We're good at destroying things. Are we good at making the world a better place? And every time we get a tool that can make the world a better place, some asshole wants to use it to control other people and do some evil. Some other time I will talk to you guys about how the military is actually actively involved in cloning human beings. And we'll go into that some other day. But as of now, I am Christ I Am Disciple. I hope you guys have a great night. God bless you all. My love to you guys. Peace. I'm gone.